episode 97. Hard to believe we're getting close to 100. And if you're watching this, it is New Year's Day. Happy 2016. We're pre-recording this show because we want to be spending time with our families. And I know Dr. Pompa, as I look across, you have your whole family with you today. And we're so excited to have the whole Pompa tribe here together today to share about what it was like growing up Pompa and how you were able to work together to raise a healthy family. So hello everyone out in Utah. How you guys doing?
Hello. Hi. We got them all here. So yeah, what was it like being raised by Dr. Pompa? Was the idea of the show. And Meredith, I'll introduce everybody here. We'll start down here on my left, your right. That's Olivia. Say hi, Olivia.
Hello.
Say hi, Olivia. Hi, Olivia.
Hi, Olivia.
Yeah, there you go. Here. All right, and of course, everyone knows Marilee from past videos. Marilee. Down on the floor here, Simon.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Say hello to the Cellular Healing TV people. Most of them have known Simon years ago from the Simon Dr. Pompa videos. One on aspartame, and what was the other one on? I don't know. He said something about, and I'm standing on a box, and he wasn't supposed to tell anyone that. And within 5 minutes of the video, he told everybody that he was standing on a box. This is Daniel. Daniel has the most experience in the family detoxing. As he's detoxing today, and said, "Dad, I really don't want to do this. I'm not feeling great. I'm detoxing." So that's a common theme in the Pompa family. That's Isaac. Hello. We always say Isaac got one of Mom's highest lead levels, but really it was Daniel. Isaac was second. And Dylan over there. There, Dylan. Dylan's gonna have to speak up. He's probably our most quiet. I should have put him up here, but I wanted to separate him and Olivia, and I wanted to separate these two. So there was strategy around this seating arrangement. Trust me, there was. All right, Meredith, I'm gonna turn it over back to you.
It's great.
Oh, this is funny.
Well, hello everyone, and thanks guys for all making it work today. I know that with the holidays it's hard to fit everything in, so we're just really excited that you guys were able to make this happen today and to all be together. So, and I mean, I'm just curious. So I don't know if each of you can kind of go through and share all the kids what it was like to have Dr. Pompa as a dad, and really kind of specifically, kind of on the health and wellness front, what it was like to grow up with Dr. Pompa. So if each of you could take a turn and just kind of share some of your general experiences, then we can kind of dive in with some more specifics.
Well, here, I'll open it up to make it a little easier for them. When, of course, the evolution occurs, through raising all of the children. And, the older ones will testify to the fact that I was a Nazi about everything that they put in their mouth, right, to the point of fear. And by the time it got to this one, things changed. And I think there's even a little resentment from the older ones. So how I got the idea for this show is one day we were sitting around here in the topic of being raised by me. I should say us, because let me tell you something. She can be more of the Nazi than I can. So let's not kid ourselves here. But, it really came up because they were telling stories about these times of when they were hiding. All right, who wants to open up?
I'll go. Okay. I remember in 6th grade, Daniel and I, our classrooms were right next to each other. And I remember walking by and seeing Daniel grab a donut out of the container. I was like, Daniel, I want to tell Mom, I want to tell Danny, you can't eat a donut. And that was, so I held that over him for a while. And he held the same thing over me for a while. But it was all about not eating donuts in school, and we weren't allowed to bring candy home from school or else we'd be in trouble.
Yeah. Not eating donuts anywhere, ever. Top 10 list dangerous.
We always got donuts for school. We always got for people's birthday parties, and yeah.
So he didn't eat the donut.
I don't know.
I don't remember.
Probably had a bite and threw it away.
Yeah, I had a bite.
But I probably told on him.
Yeah, exactly.
It seemed like the norm at the time for my dad to be such a Nazi about food and what we ate. But then as I grew up, I realized that not many people eat the way we eat. So I thought it was terrible that I was doing these things. It was like a sin.
That's funny. Yeah. So.
Did you guys ever eat the school lunches?
No.
Never. No.
Yeah, I mean, they were all raised, on, my theory was this. Look, I'm going to raise them on the food that we eat, right? When they get old enough, they can make their own decisions. So I knew that there was an age to let them go. And and they'll talk about that age, because I don't want to leave their childhood yet, but there was that age where all of them left the diet for a period of time, and I can say all of them came back, which is kind of unique. So when they were younger, it was very important to really raise them, with the foods that we know are healthy, and really carve their taste buds, to that degree. So obviously,
we were a little backwards too, though. Remember, like when we started them eating solids, we were actually vegetarians then, and so
when these two were babies,
yeah, and so we were giving them yams and banana. And my gosh, when people ask me now, I'm like, blend the spinach, because give them avocado, but even that's sweet, because I think I would have done things definitely differently.
These two, yeah, we started off, and that was part of Marilee's story too, because she was a vegetarian for a period of time, and that really added to her methylation problem. Her lead issues added to the methylation problem, and these two had health challenges because of the lead that they got from her, and digestive issues. You guys both got. So they both went through major detox with lead, for lead. And so true cellular detox is still a part of these guys' lives. Matter of fact, Isaac, you just finished detoxing this week, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And when he was younger, we went through a lot with Isaac, because we called him, his nickname was the Banshee. He was always screaming, and and he was just never settled. And we found out he had high lead levels that he got from this one. And then Daniel had digestive issues that he battled, and we detoxed him and cleared that out. And then only when he went through puberty, he started releasing a bunch of lead, and he wasn't healing, and he had an injury that wasn't doing well. And he started having other symptoms, fatigue. He wasn't getting out of bed. He was lack of motivation. Did a lead test, back up, because during puberty, you lose some old bone, and out comes the lead. And so we revisited it. Dylan, when he was younger, he was probably the most strict on the diet, because Dylan was sensory integration as a diagnosis, and he was not the same kid you see sitting here that's so good looking and nice and amazing. And he was definitely off the wall, and had all these sensory issues and hard to integrate into anything really. He was just absolutely struggling, and it was vaccine damage at age 4 that we always talk about that story. But Dylan was so strict on the diet that it really was a big part of how he got his life back. And then Olivia never actually we didn't detox her at all when she was younger. I was
pretty normal.
Yeah, right, yeah. But then she started getting sensory issues later.
After my concussion, especially.
Yeah, but even before that, you had sensory sounds, smells, taste. Like all her senses were like the way his were when he was younger. So it's like he went through it.
And leg pain.
And by the way, some people might not be watching. These guys we adopted when they were 7 years old because of a tragedy in our family. So they came into a life that they didn't understand. Matter of fact, Olivia, talk about that, because you stepped into a life that was completely different than when you were raised.
Yeah, I have to mention, Dylan and I were vaccinated. Dylan especially, we both were vaccinated. But yeah, it was different at first. I remember not being able to have candy on Halloween, and no candy canes on Christmas. It was different, but we all adjust, and I could adjust at a young age. But yeah, it was definitely different. I don't think I understood it at first. I couldn't have a bag of Doritos or whatever, but now I'm thankful for that, I have to say. But
what's amazing, Meredith, is when people say, well, gosh, it's impossible. But my kid got strep throat. I needed to give an antibiotic or this medication or that medication. We would go to visit their parents in Florida, and they were always on antibiotics. We would see them in the thing, and they just lived a different lifestyle. And I would always tell their mom, well, you don't need to give them. Well, they have this bad strep throat or earache, and they magically haven't been on a drug or an antibiotic since age 7. They're 19 now, since they entered our home. So what changed, right? The philosophy changed. Obviously there's a time and a place for an antibiotic or any medication, but they went through earaches. Lydia, I remember you having some bad ones. They went through strep throats. I remember both of them, dealing with that. Yet they didn't, end up on an antibiotic.
Garlic and olive oil.
Yeah, right. Yeah, garlic and olive oil. Yeah, so I'm saying the point of that is that we raised our family with a different philosophy. None of these kids reach for medication. None of them.
Chiropractic care.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we're adjusting them, our diet, everything that I preach and teach. They were raised on.
I remember in 9th grade, I had really bad acne, and I begged them to put me on medication for it. And they said, no.
Wait, you had a really bad what? I couldn't hear that.
Like face skin problems.
Uh-huh.
Great. And I begged them to put me on some type of medication, but they wouldn't let me do it.
Medication.
Medication.
For her acne.
For face.
Yeah, she wanted to go on it, and we were like, no, that destroys your liver and creates other problems. And now she appreciates it.
Now I'm teaching all my friends not to do it because they're the ones on medication.
And by the way, that was the stimulus that put her back on the diet that we raised her on. Was your acne? Would you agree with that? Yeah. So when she got rid of, I said, Lydia, you want to get rid of the acne? Get rid of the grains in your diet. And that's what she did. And that changed her. And she got the correlation a few times. She would go out, she would add grains back in, and sure enough, she would start breaking out again. And, so that really got her to realize, wow, I feel better, my skin's better, because, she had some aches and pain things that were popping up, and weird headaches and a lot of the sensory stuff. And that put her into the diet, and then she realized that when she was on the diet, she felt better.
Now, and Olivia, how long were you off of the diet when you started to have some of those symptoms?
It was like on and off. Like any teenager, I would go to my friend's house and, have a whatever pasta or something that wasn't
pizza, candy, yep, the usual.
Days later, I didn't feel too good, so
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't like I was at long periods of time. It was off and on. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and there's a huge difference. I always noticed a huge difference in how I ate.
She's super strict.
Yeah, she's like you.
Here.
Olivia reminds me of you.
I'm a Nazi.
Yeah.
I'm the Nazi.
Yes, she is.
My
Yes.
friends call me a health freak. That's fine.
How about the butter?
I'm okay with it too. Yeah.
Hilarious.
Okay, so I just did my first semester of college at Florida State in Valencia, Spain, and I lived with a bunch of kids in flats. And one joke I had with one of my friends, Evan, is when I first met him, I was telling someone about how you can't burn butter, or else it turns into a bad oil, right? And I don't know, he must have overheard it. So to this day, he'll walk in the room and say, Liv, I gotta tell you something. I burnt my butter this morning. So now it's like this joke that you can't burn your butter. And so,
And no Teflon.
Yeah, and then she yells at him for using Teflon, and you can't use these pans.
Oh yeah, I see people cutting in Teflon in my kitchen, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? Literally, you're gonna get sick.
Yeah, well, that's awesome, and you're out there educating and spreading the word, because really people just don't know, Awesome. Well, great. Well, and some of you others have been very quiet. So, Isaac, Simon, Dylan, any thoughts? Daniel?
Well, I would say this: if we start from we'll get to Simon in a minute. Yeah, he Millennial wants to
Save the best for last.
Yeah, we'll get to Simon's story in a minute, because Simon's a very unique Pompa, and he had a very unique time when he was raised in the Pompa family. But before we leave the twins, I have to say, Dylan, we were very strict with him with the diet, because we had to fix him, and so it was a very big deal. And then there was a time that we let Dylan go and just explore his own thing and introduce foods. And Dylan, just recently, you got back to it. I wouldn't say just recently, maybe a year ago, you got back to eating good again, right? What was the stimulus for you that made you say?
Well, growing up, I was the one who ate most strict.
Yeah.
So it was kind of hard for me seeing everyone else in the family eating things I couldn't eat. So growing up, it was harder.
Yeah.
But I've been trying lately keep that diet, because that's something I need to do to stay healthy and feel well, feel good.
Yeah.
Because when I'm not on that diet, I don't feel good.
Yeah, yeah. So he came back to the diet too. He went away and came back, and dramatic difference. When he was younger, any time he would just get off the diet for a little bit, he would our cat just pushed his way in the door, so we just watched that happen. And we saw the cat go out the window as well. So it went out the window and back in the door. But anyways, he would veer a little bit. There would be all his sensory symptoms would get worse. He would almost get more just what's the word I'm looking for? Reclusive is the word I'm looking for.
Dylan, do you remember you'd come home from your friend's house or something and you would have been eating junk food the whole weekend and you'd have red spots all over him?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. He would break out like red, and we knew. We'd be like, okay, what did you eat? Back then he was young. He didn't get it, right? I mean, so it was so hard too for us because, here it comes into a new world, right? 7 years old. They just lost their parents, and now they have to eat this strange diet. There was strange people. It was strange. Everything's strange, and yet we had to be so strict with them because look. I knew what it would take to get him well. And I remember the day, Dylan. I doubt you remember this, but you sat next to me on the bed. You were on my left, where Marilee is, and I remember because he was crying. He didn't like the fact that he had to eat this way. It was very difficult and do these things and take these thick oils, and we were giving him phosphatidylcholine and all this stuff. And I remember you crying, and I said, Dylan, look, I know it's hard, but do you want to get well?
Yeah, and that's something I remember.
Do you remember that? Yeah. Wow. That's amazing because he said, I do. And it was like, that was a tipping point because after that, then at least I had something to anchor back. It's like, I know it's hard, but remember, you want to get well. So I'm not just being mean, or she's not just being mean about the diet.
Wasn't that right, actually, right after your mom's funeral? Didn't you have that conversation even before we started anything? Because we gave
maybe, and then rehad it again.
Right.
Again when
I think it's really interesting because Lisa knew, like we had conversations about what it would take, and we had conversations before she vaccinated them because we understood as having twins. She had a ROGAM shot. She was a dental hygienist.
The ROGAM shot has about 160 some milligrams of mercury in it. I mean, it's loaded with micrograms of mercury in it. And so you're talking about massive insult to the central nervous system, which affected both of them. It just affected Dylan more. And actually, studies show that it's the testosterone actually causes an amplified effect of mercury in the brain. And estrogen is a protective. Olivia got more protection when she was younger, but only because we didn't focus on her when she's younger. As a teenager, she started getting similar symptoms that Dylan had when he was younger, not to that degree. But, Dylan started pointing it out. Remember? Like, Olivia, I know what's going on, right? Yeah. It's like, I know what's going on, that sound sensitivity and everything. But I have to say this, Dylan, I always say this when I talk about Dylan. He was the hardest kid in the beginning because obviously being on an autism spectrum and all the difficulties there. But now he is the easiest. I mean, in so many ways. Dylan has such a loving heart for people. He's such a caring person. And all of us would agree. He's the only one in the family that successfully deals with Simonisms, right?
He's street smart.
Exactly. He was the only one that, like, when Daniel was in his hard phase, he dealt with Daniel perfectly. I always just said if I could just model how Dylan deals with, some of the hard things in the family, man, it was like, that would be success. But, Dylan has a heart of gold and, went through a lot younger, and here he is now. Isaac, just recently, because of athletic performance, he's a skier. Isaac, what brought you back to the diet? Because Isaac went into ketosis over the summer, and he was off we let him go, and he was off eating, I don't want to say the standard American diet, because even when you were off, you still probably eat better than your friends.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably. But you definitely weren't eating the way you were raised, right?
No, I would have like some candy one a day if I would see it. I would take it from my friends or so. But I did eat way better than most people.
Yeah. But still, Isaac, I would say, was gravitating to the carbohydrates, right? And then something happened this fall or this spring. What was it?
Well, I just saw Daniel got way bigger, so I wanted to be like him, basically.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's an honest, yeah, it's true. And so we'll talk about that because he saw his older brother transform. Literally. I mean, this one a year and a half ago looked like this one, right? And Isaac, you should see. I mean, just in the last 6 months, Isaac has really blossomed. But he saw the transformation. So Daniel, talk about what transformed in you because you were eating the standard American diet. Well, not quite, but what brought you back?
I always ate pretty. I went through a phase whenever I was in my early teens where I stopped eating healthy. But then, more recently, the last 2.5 years, I've always ate like decent to really well. And then all of a sudden, I just kind of like, I don't know, I didn't feel as well whenever I eat a lot of carbohydrates. Definitely carbohydrates more than anything.
I mean, all of a sudden you recognize that.
And all of a sudden, I would try eating very healthy, and I feel so much better, and I have that energy. And then it was like just this phase of 2 weeks where I go on it, and then I trick myself into thinking that I'm okay now, and then I eat carbohydrates, and then there's just this cycle, and then eventually I just figured it out to like always be on this diet and like eat very healthy.
I know what it was. I remember what it was. It was the Stephen Finney.
Yeah.
We went to Dr. Stephen Finney, who
The art and science of carbohydrates.
Yeah, he was a co-author with Jeff Bullock on The Art and Science of Low Carbohydrate Living. And this one, he was there talking to athletes about performing and how all these athletes, amazing athletes, are going into ketosis and performing better. I brought him and Isaac to the lecture. Isaac went away, right? He didn't, stupid. You know,
When was I?
yeah, I don't know.
I read the book.
Yeah, Olivia actually read the book, right?
It's in April.
It was in April sometime. Anyways, so Daniel went away from that and he said, that's it, I'm going into ketosis. So all of my influence, nothing. Stephen Finney, thank you, because you influenced Daniel from that lecture, my son. Daniel left there, he went into ketosis, and he started putting on all this muscle. I mean, you should see this kid.
I think I went through, after my diet straightened out, my hormones were able to go in the correct direction, and my testosterone was able to come in correctly.
That's exactly what happened.
Put on all this muscle, and my body just transformed.
Yeah, so he started like catching up to me and getting stronger and stronger, and I was like, oh my God. Isaac saw him go into ketosis, and sometime in the summer, Isaac said, I want to go into ketosis. And so Isaac did. And
The whole
Isaac,
family did it.
yeah, the whole family. Olivia, you were already there at this point. Yeah, Olivia was already really there. She just didn't know the numbers, right? But she was so strict on her diet.
Mhm.
And then he decided, okay, I want to do it. And, you know, that was history. You realized how much better you felt. So he did it to look like him, but he realized ultimately, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. And by the way, Meredith, both of them, when they would do a carb day, they would like do like ridiculous carbs. In that whole day and the next day, they'd be like, oh, I hate carb days, right? Is it true? Yeah.
Love-hate relationship with carb days.
So, you know, they're both very carbohydrate sensitive. Yeah, they don't. So again, I would say, you know, Daniel is probably, you know, as strict as Olivia. You know, now these two are the most
I think
strict.
Isaac's the most strict when he's in ketosis.
When he's in ketosis,
He is,
yes.
he is counting. I mean,
Right now,
he
he's
is-
not in ketosis.
He makes us
purposely.
crazy. Like, stop counting.
Yeah.
You know, it's
I've
like
been
you're
in
there.
ketosis for 3 months now, straight.
Yeah.
I haven't carb day.
Yeah, it's true because he doesn't like them.
Yeah.
So. And Daniel's detoxing. Isaac's recently detoxing, and so is Olivia off and on when she was in Spain.
And I don't know. Okay, my computer's being a little weird. I was hearing it going. And just to kind of break it down, maybe there are some people that are watching for the first time, hearing you talk about ketosis, and we'll definitely refer you back. There's many Cellular Healing TVs where you can watch and learn a lot more about the ketogenic diet. But perhaps some people with families, kids, wondering, you know, about the safety of the ketogenic diet for kids, for teens. Can you kind of speak to that, and if there are any precautions there?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, you know, definitely read the articles. And I think the biggest thing, especially with kids, I said, you know, make sure you read the articles. But I think one of the biggest things is just watching the electrolytes. You know, the kids would start to get like tired or something. I would always have to remind them to take extra electrolytes, especially for the first month. When you're adapting, you lose electrolytes, and that can make you feel weak, more tired, even more irritable. So I think you have to be more cautious of electrolytes with children, you know, with kids. And again, I mean, they're more grown now, so you know, this, you know, it's not like they're babies here. I mean, I don't think that ketosis, you know, has to be something that a kid does. It's something that they wanted to do to take their health to the next level, ultimately, you know, and their performance to the next level. But yeah, I mean, besides that, listen, humans for thousands of years were all in ketosis. I mean, children, babies, I mean, you know, the difference is that, you know, most kids aren't used to that, and they don't, that adaptation can be rough. You know, but again, anyone can be in ketosis. You know, that's the way humans are. When we look at the, you know, different cultures, ketosis is what they do always. So
I feel like teenagers do keto. If they're going to do ketosis, it's definitely more the way it makes you look. Like you look so much healthier, you feel so much better. But it's definitely more looks driven. Like it's so like
it's true.
Get lean and things like that.
Yeah. Well, okay, so Daniel, what's a typical day look like for you on the ketogenic diet now?
Oh, I don't know. It depends. Some mornings.
A dozen eggs.
Yeah, I mean, I'll wake up, go to the gym, and then I'll do my protein weight, and then I'll make a dozen or so eggs, a half pound of bacon.
Wait, for real?
Yeah. That's how he got this way, right?
A dozen eggs. Wow. Okay, that's a lot.
You know what's funny? When I was a kid, I made my mother make me like a dozen eggs at a time. That's so funny. I didn't even know you were eating that many eggs, but that's what I did too, right?
Wow, there you go.
Getting bigger.
And then I only eat about 2 meals a day. That's it.
Okay, so you practice intermittent fasting. So you do breakfast and dinner, or kind of like a brunch and a dinner?
Brunch and a dinner, I'd say.
And what would be a dinner for you?
Chicken or steak, some vegetable, and I just eat a lot of it.
They drink a glass of milk, like raw milk we get, and they do it with like protein powder. If they need a snack, they all kind of go to that.
Yeah. And you guys, like, oh, go ahead, Dr. Pompa.
I was just going to say, Olivia eats 2 meals a day as well. What time do you eat your first meal?
Well, I intermittent fast until, I mean, I have a cup of coffee with a lot of like whipping cream and coconut oil or butter in the mornings, and I usually don't eat until, it depends on what I'm doing in the morning, but usually 1 to 2 o'clock. But if I'm at the gym in the morning, I have to eat earlier. I'll have eggs, and like Daniel said, at night we'll eat a lot of meat and vegetables. So low carb, but yeah. Yeah,
so she eat 1 or 2 o'clock is her first meal. You know, pretty much, you know, very same that I do, what Marilee does. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so.
Him too.
Yeah, 4.
Well, why is that? Like, because some people would think like missing breakfast is dangerous.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, yeah, Olivia says, yeah, why is that? Some people would think, well, you know, missing breakfast is dangerous. And, you know, we have some articles on intermittent fasting. We've done some shows on intermittent fasting. And what we call that is daily intermittent fasting, where we're giving our body time to rest. We're giving our body time to not have to break food down. And we're also giving our body time to burn its fat stores, which gives you perfect glucose levels, which is really a way, it's a restriction. Studies show you live longer, you live healthier, and it really, you know, it's a way to be, you know, stay leaner. And, you know, honestly, you can even almost be a little more free with your diet when you do it. But some people, you have to adapt to get there. You can't just start there.
It took me like a month to adjust.
Yeah, because she was trying at first. She was just too hungry. I
was so hungry.
Yeah.
Now I have so much energy.
Yeah. Have all of you practiced fasting? All the kids?
Simon.
Yeah, no, I would say, I don't know.
You mean intermittent fasting or regular fasting? 4 days?
Either. Both.
Simon never eats breakfast just because he's not hungry. So he intermittent fasts just by default. I shouldn't say never, but mostly. Isaac's, you know, I don't know, you eat 3 meals.
Barely eat breakfast.
Yeah, barely eats breakfast, but 3 meals. Dylan, you eat breakfast every
I
day.
eat breakfast sometimes.
Sometimes.
Now I don't come in here and eat eggs, but I mean, I definitely grab a snack.
Uh-huh.
Not too much.
Right.
But, yeah, I think it's like a lunch thing for me. So I'll eat a lot of lunch.
It was funny because Dylan and Olivia both worked at Whole Foods. And the funny thing was, I can speak for Dylan because he told me this. He's like, man, one of the best things of me leaving Whole Foods is because I'm eating better now.
I didn't agree.
That's like one of the.
I didn't agree. I thought it was easier to eat.
Yeah, but no, tell what. I agree.
That's like one of the biggest things for me. Because like I was in the grocery department, so I handled like all the food. So
Just
like,
stocking shelves.
Yeah,
and she was at the cash
shelves.
register.
And working there, you're allowed to try stuff. So I would try a lot of the food.
So he was eating the healthy junk food, right?
Right.
Yeah. And you think like Whole Foods, you shop there, it's healthy, but it's not. You know, there's a lot of junk food there.
Don't be deceived.
So
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like, gosh, I get out of there. It's like, you know, I'm eating better again. His skin cleared up. I mean, like, I feel better again. Because again, people go, oh, you're buying at Whole Foods, you think it's healthy. They were eating healthy junk food. So
Yeah, plenty of healthy junk food there too. Not that we all haven't enjoy that from time to time, but have any of you guys done any of the longer fasts?
Daniel's done a 4-day fast. Olivia's done a 4-day fast. Isaac and Dylan, no. No. So there you go. Split.
Yeah, that
That's all
twice.
me.
Yeah, Daniel's done it twice.
I
Yeah,
know.
twice. Have you done it 4 days?
Yeah.
No.
I actually
Okay,
have,
yeah, he wants to talk. Simon has so much to say. Go ahead.
Yeah, Simon, join the conversation.
I actually have bones in Spain. I'm gonna do it with my friend, but we couldn't find a crock pot. So, you know, being in college isn't easy to do a 4-day fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
They couldn't take up the one working burner for that.
Right, yep. And then your friends smell the bone broth, and they're like, "What are you doing?" Yeah,
Something, people always say, yeah, but what about, it's harder to get these foods where I live. I can tell you this, that in Spain, it's so very hard to eat the foods that you're used to. And Olivia stayed on the diet the whole time, first year
My
of
organic
college.
store is a 30-minute bike ride from my door.
Yes, she did it, right?
oh, dedicated.
30 minutes to my organic store every time I want vegetables. But I mean, the food in Spain is different. So, there is a fresh market near me, so I do trust it more than I do in the US. But still, there are things that I would absolutely want: coconut oil, good butter and good milk. So I do go to the organic store.
What's interesting though, Olivia said, she came out of ketosis at some time when she was there, and I probably encouraged her to do that just to make it easier on her. And she came out of ketosis and she said, gosh, I was eating, not all the time, but she was eating some of the.
I'll tell the story.
Go ahead.
In Spain, I was eating all the time. I stopped doing ketosis to do diet variation, but I didn't gain weight. I was feeling good until I came home and I ate a bagel. I went and had pasta with all my friends, and then 2 days later, I had gained like 5 pounds. It just goes to show you how different the food is from Spain and America, and emphasis on GMOs. So.
Yeah. Well, you know what? In our last show, one of our shows, we interviewed Stephanie Seneff, and she said, look, that's the glyphosate.
It's a scary
In Spain, they're not using the glyphosate. She says the glyphosate is the reason why people gain weight when they eat grains here. It opens up the gut-tight junctions, and it drives inflammation, and it drives weight gain. I told
People
her.
wonder why your pizza is so beautiful.
Yeah. It's like they're thinner. Yeah, it's like no doubt. I mean, they eat more carbohydrates. And yet they're thinner than we are. And according to Seneff and others, it's the glyphosate use, the GMOs. So watch out. Watch that show with Stephanie Seneff. Okay.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah. And so I'm looking at the Christmas tree behind you and talking about carbohydrates. What did you guys do over the holidays? How did that work over Christmas with food? Did you guys cook together? What kind of healthy meals did you share over the holidays?
Daniel said it's easy, and we've always had great Christmases, and we've always ate our diet. Cellular healing diet is always part of our Christmas meals.
I think the only thing that was different was we made stuffing out of Ezekiel bread because we wanted to have stuffing.
Yeah.
Ooh, keto bread stuffing. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was. But Olivia and Marilyn put together 2 amazing meals.
We'll walk through it.
Yeah.
What did we make the first night? The first night we
Lamb.
made lamb in the crock pot. She did that.
It was simple. It was salt and pepper and garlic and shallots, rosemary, and a little bit of thyme, and then
We did a kale salad.
and I did this
Kale salad.
like a braised kale with pine nuts and liquid aminos. And that was fantastic too. It's like that's actually a recipe out of Lorna Sass's Complete Vegetarian Kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did, what was our other?
We did the mashed yams for the little one.
Right. And then
the mashed yams that Simon ate probably the whole bowl.
Yeah.
We did natural cranberries with stevia.
that
sweetened.
was Christmas dinner.
Oh, that was
Christmas dinner we
yeah,
did
sorry.
a big turkey, and with Ezekiel stuffing, and then what else did we do? We did mashed cauliflower.
And those cabbage slices that were chunks of
Oh yeah, we
cabbage
did cabbage with it was basically like a cabbage salad kind of.
with walnuts, like a walnut sauce. It's really
Yeah.
good.
For dessert, we did
Mashed cauliflower.
Yeah, I said mashed cauliflower. We had some other salad. We had so much food.
Oh, the soup.
Oh yeah, the far
Oh my gosh, that soup recipe's on my Facebook. I was looking for a soup to make, and I made that. That was
Dude is going, oh my god. Yeah, okay. All right, yeah,
The soup. What was the soup?
Simon was
all right. Simon, this one, the youngest, right? So you okay.
I have a question.
All right, what's your question?
Can dogs go into ketosis?
Dogs are always
They
in
are.
ketosis.
Yeah, ours are.
Yeah, because they're all eating meats and fats. That's it.
Ours are.
Yeah, they get zero, well, I won't say zero carbohydrates, but probably 5 grams a day. If
Good question. Yeah.
yeah, some of the vegetables that are in some of their meat. But that was a good question.
Cats too.
But anyway, so Simon was raised in a different time. You know, we had gone through a lot of stress. You know, I had just gotten well. And after I had just started getting well, I can't even say I was completely there. The twins came into our life because of a tragedy. And that changed life dramatically. And we went through all kinds of changes.
He
Hard
was 6
stuff.
weeks old.
You know, stuff with, you know, I explained on some past shows, you know, that just tore up our family battle, court stuff, and a lot of stress. And Simon was raised during that time. So, of course, we weren't even focused on what Simon was going to eat or eat. It just wasn't on the radar. When life got very stressful, Simon pretty much, you know, it was like, hey, he'll figure it out. You know, which is common, I would say, for the younger child anyway. It's like, he'll figure it out. He'll eventually follow the older ones, right? It was kind of that thing with Simon, is he'll figure it out.
I think he had us all fooled.
What we did know was driving the older ones.
He definitely ate the healthiest out of any of us whenever he was young.
It's true. It is true.
And
By
then,
default.
and then he just ate everything. And he
Yeah.
would eat everything.
He became a disposal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they didn't care if he had a little bit of sugar, but then his diet slowly shifted.
Yeah.
Not everyone-
And he became a carbatorian, like, you know, those dinosaurs, it's like, you know, pizzas and whatever. He was the first Pompa to gain weight. I mean, it's like, you know, all of us. I mean, you can see, you know, it's, you know, we practice what we preach. But this guy was the first to, you know, to put on the.
130.
Yeah. The poor kid takes ribbings. I mean, from these older ones. Trust me, he does. I mean, the agouti joke. You know, so Daniel coined. If you saw any of my past videos, there's the agouti gene gets turned on in mice, right, when they give them certain toxins. So Daniel kept saying he triggered his agouti gene, meaning the obesity gene that triggered with the mice.
And in his cell phone, he's duty work.
Yeah, his cell phone name is Goody Work, meaning his Goody gene is triggered. I mean, imagine this.
Goody
Right?
work like goody work.
Yeah. I say, only the grace of God, this kid is turning out normal, right? It's like, you know, he's like, he's ADD.
We're praying for that.
He got dyslexia from me, okay? Dyslexia. He got ADD from her.
And I got
Okay.
the rest of his symbols.
Yeah, and he's OCD. And these two are OCD, right? About every little thing. So it's like every label the poor kid has, but he's brilliant. You know, he's so smart. You know, he really is. But anyway,
I
so
got a lot of issues.
Don't we all, honey? Don't we all?
No,
We
I
do. We've all got them. You guys are real, though. It's, you know, it's real.
Simon
I'm
went-
like gorilla dumb in a way, like I just don't know. It's like I have like a I don't know, it's like I like made like a flamethrower with like gas. Like remember that gas?
Simon almost killed our family.
This couple times.
Yeah, because he does these things, right? His brain wants to like do things, right? So, right, he like, you know, what did he do? He like
Green
lit some green gas. He was lighting it, almost exploded, and we're like, you can't do that. I mean, he lit our Christmas tree
He said the green gas can.
on fire. I mean, every possible
Yeah,
thing.
you said he green gas can with the
Hammer.
Oh, yeah, the green gas, very explosive. He was hitting it with a hammer, all it would take is a spark to blow up. It's like, I mean, one thing, he was pulled by a motorcycle that he put
This summer.
a toggle bolt, like this pointy toggle bolt,
It was
into
like that long.
plastic. And he was being pulled on a wagon. It snapped.
It was a wood that was
Luckily,
straight.
his knee is up and went all the way into his knee, into his meniscus. Okay, so I mean,
Well, I like
Listen.
the diet or else you're doing.
Wild man.
And actually, the bottom line is pray for God's mercy and protection over your children, because that is the only way these guys have gotten to where they are.
no,
And us too, by the way.
honestly,
Not
and that's only the grace of God, you know, that we have survived as a family and come together as a family. We have
Yeah,
done
no, being skinny.
a lot of our speed. Okay, let me finish with him though, because in his defense, he now is in the diet. Yeah. He actually can really discipline himself when he wants to, and
Zero
now he's like,
carbs a day.
he's on the program. He's officially been on the
He's
program.
lost about 10 pounds.
He's lost about 10 pounds already.
Wow.
And he's eating healthy, and it's getting easier. So
I did 0 carbs a day one time.
good.
Wow. What? How are you feeling, Simon?
I want sugar.
He always feels good. Don't let him, like, that's the thing about Simon. He doesn't have the challenges, right? So, yeah. So he always feels well. So he doesn't have the same value that most of us do. And obviously, given the fact that he has tortured himself to a different level than the rest of us willfully, that obviously we're trying to prevent that from happening. So if we can reel him back in now, then that's going to go a long way for him.
Simon, all these kids would attest to this. When Simon's eating carbohydrates, sugar, is he a different kid?
Yeah.
I mean, completely, right? And right, they're the first to say, knock it off. Knock off the sugar. And they're the first to say, what are you eating? What were you eating? Because he changes. He doesn't realize it himself. Am I right? Yeah. He doesn't realize it himself. What the food does to him. So, he'll go to the movies with Dylan, and Dylan's like, you're not eating that. Because Dylan's like, I don't want to deal with you, right? I mean, it's like, that's the Simon on carbohydrates is a different Simon. And Simon on sugar is not a good thing.
He's actually a good kid. He's on the diet.
He is.
He's nice.
Yeah. But it's a good reminder, too, that we all have different sensitivities to sugar, to carbohydrates, even within the same family.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Wow.
Anything else?
Anything else? Yeah, Simon's got a lot to say, believe me.
Well, you can feel free to jump in, but I know we touched on this a teeny bit earlier, but didn't really go into it. So just wondering about your experiences with True Cellular Detox, with the Cyto Detox drops. I know you've all taken them. If you can kind of share some of your individual experiences, I think that'd be really valuable to our audience.
I think so too, because we have such a different thing.
Well, I think I have the most experience in the detox realm.
Daniel was using them before they were even launched to the public or even to doctors. So
And I mean, my lead was very bad. It probably still is not great, but I've just been really determined to get it all out and detox the most effectively, I guess. And like as you get on the detox, I guess you start cycling. You start to figure out how your body works and functions, and like even more so than just my father can explain to me. Like everyone's different. So I slowly find myself like just the little things that work for me, and like I don't know, it's just how dialed in it has to be. Like every day I'm detoxing, I have to sauna, and then after I sauna, I have to drink so much water, just to keep flushing it out, or I'll feel so bad.
Well, Daniel, when he first started with the Cyto Detox, he could barely take, 3 drops 3 times a day. He could barely take it. How many are you taking now?
25.
25 3 times a day. And he takes the G cell, the bind. He does everything that we do, right? He does True Cellular Detox. Now, like I said, he's able to do more. Isaac, he can do 20. Last cycle, how many drops did he do? 23 times a day. He's not affected by it, right? Olivia.
I just started.
Yeah, but it took her to the bank. She.
Oh, I'm like literally. I can only do 3 drops right now. I feel so sick when I do it.
Yeah, so
I'll get there.
She's where they are, right? So she just started
they are.
doing the drops when she was in Spain. I'm getting emails and texts going, oh my gosh, I feel like crap. What's going on? I'm like, cut back your dose down, But Olivia, she's faithful. She has her G cell, she has her bind, she has her more. All the products, she's doing it all. And Marilee, she can do whatever doses too, right? And you feel fine.
Yeah, I used to get really tired doing DMSA my second day. I was always really tired. With the detox drops, I take 33 times a day. I don't even know that I am detoxing. I'm very much like Isaac. Just right into it, no issues. Which obviously, then I kind of want some. I kind of want some, and I'll take lipoic acid with it too.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and then the lipoic, Isaac, you did lipoic and Cyto last cycle together, and he still did great. He was doing 100 milligrams 3 times a day? Yeah, so he did fine.
I cycle alpha lipoic every other cycle, and that's really well with me.
Yeah, so Daniel doesn't do alpha lipoic with the Cyto Detox every cycle, every other cycle, which is really smart, actually, and I've done that with other clients as well. And so, all of these kids have been on programs. When it's being raised by Dr. Pompa, you see our cabinets, it's like I'm always putting them on different things. And so it's, what are you doing with the
He's
dog?
had enough.
Yeah, he's had enough. I'm going to have to let this one.
Like I said, no. Well, okay, and we're talking supplements now. So what do you guys kind of do individually too, as far as supplementation goes? Are there things that you kind of always stick with and then cycle, or what's in your medicine cabinet of supplements?
Well, me personally, I've always had like a gut problem and bacterial, so I'm very focused on the anti-candida and also building up good bacteria. So I'd say I'm really determined and dedicated to definitely getting those supplements in every day. But the G cell also.
Yeah.
What were the supplements you take?
Oh, I mix it up frequently, depending, just so I get this bacteria. We have a new product that we just started taking on.
Yeah, I mean, he's been on NBC, he's been on Prescript, he's now on Restore.
Number 3.
Yeah, number 3, number 4. He gets candida when he detoxes. That was always my issue too. So he always has to knock down that. So he goes. He's been through all the NBC is the probiotic. So he's really good at taking them now. And I have to say this: I could never get any of these kids to take anything. But once they have a self-interest, and Daniel said it, of looking good, they're on their supplement program. It's like they don't miss.
What happens when?
Oh, God. Not good. Anyways, so Olivia, what do you take?
I take lots of magnesium. I definitely have a magnesium deficiency. Osteoforce for like my knee pains, osteoforce and magnesium. Potassium for being in ketosis. That's not here.
Yeah, she does the G cell divine, all that. I mean, that's part of her program.
I'm gonna have to admit I don't have as much as I do in Spain as we have here, but
Yeah,
I have what I need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just keep it simple. And are you going back to Spain for another semester?
For 8 months.
Another 8 months. Wow, awesome, great.
Yeah, I have to say this, and our family, we over Christmas, I had time before Christmas Day to just pray over each one of these children, and we all testified to what God has done in our life, this past year, and for us, even in the past how many years, it really is a miracle. And hearing the kids, every one of them had very specific insights to what God has done for them and our family. It's just witness to how God can change, so many things. And we've had some really hard times, with our family. And just hearing their viewpoint from it, it was hard.
It was the best Christmas ever.
Yeah, it was.
Mm.
It was just amazing because they all had such unique stories. And the one thing, and Dylan said it, and it was on my heart. He said, just the last year, just watching, how our family, the tension has left. It's like in one of the prayers, and I know one of the promises God gave that we'd be a unified family, because we came together through tragedy. It's some really hard times in our life. And imagine losing your parents at age 7. Imagine, all of a sudden you're not the oldest anymore, and all these stressors and tension. And imagine, the family fighting over, all these things that really don't matter. And all of the stress that really, here we are. And to hear, Dylan speak to that, and it was right on my heart, that nothing makes, Christmas better this year than seeing us as a unified family going through that amount of adversity. And here we are to make a difference in the world. One thing that God put on my heart when I was praying over them is that I know that every one of these kids are going to be used in an amazing way to make a difference in this world. I know it. I know it's because of our struggle that we had as a family, and I know that everything that we've all been through is part of that. And people watching this, it's like you have a struggle, you have a battle, look what God's going to do in it. And just hearing these young kids testify to that is huge.
Yeah. So cool too that you guys have just jumped in and walk the talk and learn so much in the process, obviously too. And I'm wondering, are any of you interested in the future kind of being a part of the health and wellness field? Have you thought about that?
You-
Sorry.
She asked the question of any of you thinking about being part of the health and
We look
wellness
to
field.
you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've always really been inspired by my parents, and I'm actually at Florida State right now, and getting I'm majoring in biology because my dream is to go to chiropractic school. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very exciting.
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Yeah, so we know we have one to take
Yeah.
off this.
Go on.
We have such a background in education on all of this already, and such an interest. I'd say, for me anyway, I'm so dialed into like my body, and I feel like one way or another, whether it's through business or something, I'm gonna be tied into the health industry. It's been such a
Yeah. Regardless, yeah, some way, somehow.
Health challenges, because of the lead that he got from mom, and that's really his interest. And now he sticks more to the diet, honestly, just because he feels better. I tried to get him into carb days, and he's just like, I don't feel good. He doesn't want to do it. So anyone else? I don't know. I think they're business guys. You never know. But who knows? Maybe in a business way they'll be involved, right? So,
Yep. You never know. And what I think that's so true too, of just, you gotta let your kids just be and learn and going off the diet, or, exploring different fields. And it is just so important to let kids be open and to find things out for themselves, because really that's really the only way to learn.
Yeah. I think it's, like I said, just letting your kids, explore. But I think it's very important to raise your kids on a healthy diet, to form their taste buds. In those formative years, formable years, that's the most important. That's where the genetics get set, a lot of them, right? And then, of course, they can change later, get turned off. But, there's something in the Bible that talks about raising your kids a certain way and then coming back to it later. And that's what we've seen.
And we always said that what we do in our home is going to be at the standard that we live by. And if they go out and experience other things, other places, obviously, and they have, but when they're home, they know what we do and why. And they've all been very well educated, but even if they have struggled to not want to fit in with their friends, we've definitely given them room to experience that too.
I'd say, even reflecting upon it, that looking back at how I was raised, that I'm definitely even harder on my kids.
Oh, no.
I believe that here too.
No doubt, 100%. I'm gonna just drive it home, make them try, raise them to be the way you guys tried to raise us, except with less lead and things like that.
Right,
You're
Less
one
lead,
generation
It's
removed,
true.
so it takes 4 years to get it completely out. But
That one down there, I almost feel bad for her kids. They're going to be raised by the
Cracking that whip.
Yeah, Olivia's she's gonna be down in it. You know what? I'm gonna be grandpa coming over. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna be like going, hey, let's go for ice cream, kids, like their grandfather did. And I say, oh, you can take them for ice cream as long as you take them home with you, right? It's like, grandpa up, you get to go home. I can't wait to do that. I can't.
Lots to look forward to. That's fun.
I'm gonna come over to the bag of ice cream and be like, get that crap out of here.
Maybe if it's raw and organic and maybe stevia might be acceptable, but yeah.
I don't even know if I can do it. I joke about it, but I doubt I can do it.
I don't think so.
Are there any last words? Being raised by Dr. Pompa and his Nazi wife, is there any other comments?
Yeah, I actually have one last thing. That looking back on, I realized recently that I had so many health challenges before, and where I would be in my life if I didn't have a father that knew all of this, that could lead me in a way to understand how to get well. I honestly don't even think I could be functioning to any extent of success, and it makes all the difference having my health out of it. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. Yeah, no, it's amazing. His lead was literally off the chart, just like his, just like hers. Yeah, just like hers, just like his. They all, got it from mom. I mean, we talked about that on past videos. If mom has lead and mercury, baby has lead and mercury, they get it in utero. And they were raised really well on a great diet, and yet they had massive issues. But it's formed them to who you are today, no doubt. And likewise with the twins, different family, different toxic source, the way they got it. And yet, you know, here we are. Guys, I just think about that, right? It's like, I mean, every one of us have gone through major health challenges that sit here. You know, it's like, and that really makes us who we are. You know, and not just health challenges, but even challenges beyond that. You know, it's like if we didn't have those challenges, we would not be who we are, right?
Yeah.
You all agree with that?
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's one thing I always want to, you know, tell them too. It's like, look, the battles that you face in life define you. How we respond, how we react in the battles, in the hard times, in those valleys, you know, is who you become. You know, and I'm so proud of every one of them because, you know, we've been through a lot, and these are amazing humans right here. They really
They're
are.
solid.
They are solid humans, and I'm so proud to be their dad, honestly. So proud of everyone. You know, proud to be the husband of this amazing woman. So thanks, man.
Awesome. Well, those are beautiful words, and it's such a good reminder too to anyone watching that, you know, as you guys say, from pain to purpose, that God doesn't waste any of these challenges in our life, and we can grow from them and learn so much. And Dr. Pompa, the knowledge that you share with your family, with me, with everyone has just made such an amazing impact on the world, and has allowed a lot of people to get well and give so many people hope. So thank you for all that you do, and thank you to the Pompa tribe for sharing your stories and your challenges and your lessons and everything that you've been through to lead you to where you are today.
Yeah.
So thanks, everyone. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll close out for episode 97. Hoping you have a wonderful New Year's Day today and a really happy, healthy, amazing 2016. And we will see you next week. Dr. Pompa and I will be interviewing Dr. Dominic D'Agostino, and we will be talking about his research on ketosis and just kind of doing a really deep dive into ketosis. He's done some really incredible research, and we're really excited to talk to him next week. So, so thanks everyone, and happy New Year to all, and we'll talk to you next week.
Happy New Year. Thanks, y'all.
Bye.